Hello there, YouTube. This is the Rogue Gem Player, and I'm coming at you with an S-Force deck profile. With the new ban list now finally being released, it is time to start putting up videos. Now, um, I've got a long list of decks that I need to get put together and recorded, but you will be seeing videos over the course of the month. Now that the new list was out, I've been kind of waiting until the list came out because, quite frankly, I wasn't really happy with the format too much. Yeah, the new set came out, and there's some decks from that. But in hindsight, it's new format, new decks, and I thought I'd bring something very new. So let's get right on into it. So S Force is kind of one of those decks where it had some really cool concepts, but there wasn't really a cool way to really use them. So, but now the deck kind of needs a little bit more support, at least one more monster, in my opinion. But it's neither here nor there. So let's start with the main deck monsters. We're going to start with 3 copies of Retroactive. Retroactive is kind of one of those cards where, because of the way the deck operates, you're always, you kind of want to use this card when you need it. Unfortunately, its effect to become material in hand only works if you use it for Justify, because it's the Link 3. Unfortunately, it doesn't allow you to use it for the Link 1 by itself. It's stupid, which means they need to give us a Link 2 that can kind of do things. Its ability to banish itself from graveyard to substitute itself for a banish effect is actually really important, because you can kind of make some kind of like combo enablers. And in addition to that, after turn 1, if long as this card remains in the graveyard, you're just going to gain advantage out of it, so why not? Then we're playing 3 copies of Chimaru. She is the best one in the entire deck, mainly because the ability to just banish an S-Force card and then immediately get 3 material on board, just because of the way the deck operates. Generating free advantage off of things like using Retroactive to recur a monster and then link ladder and that type of thing. It's really cool. It gives you lots of additional plays because it summons from deck, which is actually really cool. So it gives you free advantage for no reason. So, and then for the only low levels are 2 copies of Razor Edge and 1 copy of Orphis. Razor Edge summons from hand. Also, it prevents your opponent from using material for Link 3 or higher, which can kind of happen in some cases. And Orifice is just kind of one of those cards that you could just pop a card. Their column effects are okay, but the main thing is they're low levels that you can normal summon if you already have the Chimaru in rotation. So, and now we get into probably the best cards in the entire deck, and that is the level 5 and level 6. We're playing 3 copies of the Gravitino. It's really good. First and foremost, monsters in the same column get macroed when they leave the field, and then on normal or special, you can add a S-Force card from deck to hand, which is actually really important because you can just add the spell traps for basically no no cost, and not to mention the way the deck operates, you're going to instantly get to this card. So, and then the other good high level is 3 copies of Platina. Platina is probably the best one in under things like Dimension Shifter and things like that, mainly because she pulls from the banished pile when summoned. So how you basically use a card like this is you use Chimaru to banish something like a Gravitino from hand, and then you use Platina to summon back the monster you banished. So you always have advantage. So if you have a Gravitino in hand, you banish this, you instantly have 2 cards in hand. Because yes, the Chimaru bounces back to hand, but you're always gonna have monsters. So, and then the 1 copy of Lapis Solowell, or whatever. It's basically similar to Platina, except for graveyard-based stuff. And then you can banish an S-Force to destroy all monsters in your opponent controls in the same position, in the same columns as S-Force monsters. So it's kind of like a board nuke for monsters. And then hand traps. 3 Dimension Shifter. This card is pretty much a godsend. This is a kind of one of those cases where the deck can actually play under Dimension Shifter really, really well. It just because the deck doesn't really. Some combos actually get better because of it, and some actually but all they don't actually um, hurt the deck. Plus, the deck it's gonna go through its combo regardless. So, and then 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring as the primary hand trap of choice, along with the 1 copy of Droll and Lockbird. I am playing um, Crossout Designator, so I figured, you know what, might as well, have it as a good random target. But as the format kind of solidifies, it might move to the side deck. I don't know yet. That's all the monsters. For the spells, we're playing 3 copies of S-Force Bridgehead. First and foremost, this card adds an S-Force monster from deck to hand when played. And then when your opponent declares an attack on an S-Force monster, you can activate the effect, and the monster you control cannot be destroyed by battle. So it adds a little bit of protection, but the main thing is that it is an S-Force card that serves as a monster. So you can use Gravitino to get into this, and now all of a sudden you have cards on board. So, not to mention, if you open up duplicates, you can banish them off of things like Chimaru. And then we're playing 3 copies of Small World. Thanks to Pot of Prosperity's banning, I am a lot more comfortable playing this card now. In fact, this card is probably way better now because you can just get any of the monsters. Not to mention, the deck is either light, dark, and there's no really like overlapping all that much. So you can probably get to any of them if you need it. So keep that in mind. 3 copies of Crossout Designator. This is going to be kind of like a card that you're going to see just because it says you don't lose against stupid stuff. So, and then the 1 Called by the Grave, the 1 Triple Tactics Talent, and then the 1 copy of Rhoda because Retroactive and Chimaru are warriors. You don't want to play Cyanite Mining for the Cyburst ones because there's only 3 targets, and they aren't really something you really need to get into that easily or that badly. So that's all the spells. For traps, just 6 traps. 3 copies of S-Force Chase. It's basically compulsed with different names. Also, it can banish itself to substitute for an S-Force effect, which is actually really important. So you can always have advantage for it. And then 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence because it is a really, really good trap to be playing. So, and thanks to the column mechanic, you're going to be playing really, really well. Now, the extra deck. The extra deck is kind of awkward because the deck desperately needs a in-themed Relink 2 to really use Retroactive, but it still does plays. So, first things first, 3 copies of S-Force Knight's Teacher. Basically, what this card does is you can shuffle a S-Force back into the deck and special a banished S-Force monster. So if you go, like, for example, Chimaru, okay, you can summon any monster from the deck, okay, because you're summoning it, and then you're going to link it off, put the Night Chaser back, and then bring it back. So it's kind of one of those, if you really wanted to, you can banish very specific cards, and it'll always give you advantage if you really needed it. So, and then we're playing the 1 copy of Justify. He's really cool. He's an in-theme monster that can just board nuke your opponent. So keep that in mind. It negates effects when it's on the board, and then, at the damage step, it banishes everything it points to. It does kind of, it's kind of awkward because it has no down arrows, it's all up arrows, so you're kind of just like screwed. So, for the generic stuff, the 1 Elmirage, it's a generic Link 1. This is mainly in here for Promethean Princess as a kind of like a random fire target. Relinquish Anima, it's a Link 1 that can use Retroactive if you really needed to. It's kind of one of those it's a corner case card. Nightmare Phoenix, spell trap removal. Selene, you're playing a spellcaster in the main deck, so it's best to have it. Nightmare Unicorn, another kind of removal card. So now we go into the other fun stuff. The 1 Promethean Princess, you're you're playing fire cards in the extra, so you kind of want to have to play it. The Emblo Whale because it's an in-theme card. Boral Sword, kind of for, like I said, corner cases, OTKs. The extra deck is really flexible. If you have cards that you want to play, feel free to play them. If you want to play different engines, go for it. You know, the cool thing about S-Force is that the deck does not Xenolock you. So, the one Griffin, it's there. Zealantis and access code as kind of like random targets. Like I said, there's a lot of room for cards in this deck, so which makes the deck really unique because there's no single way of playing it because it can play under certain things that other decks can't, and it just generates it kind of plays this kind of like resource game after turn one. Because you're using Night Chaser, you're using other cards to just slowly generate you advantage because Chimaru keeps bouncing back to your hand. So you always have access to it. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate, subscribe. And let's see how we can do for the rest of the year. And hopefully this format is a lot better. Thank you for stopping by. Bye.